Twisted Fate is going to be a little bit tougher than to put it in the jungle.
Oh, Rakan, a great pick against Braum. Because when Rakan engage, it's hard for Braum to like put out a shield and protect the backline because Rakan will get through everyone, something along that line.
That's true.
Oh, but Graves and Braum and Twisted Fate is a really great like trio.
Wow. I'm just looking at this perfect idea that BURIRAM United has, where you could easily proc the passive where you could just stun anybody that is being hit by the Braum, and now Team Flash says, I want that team fight, I'm gonna bring in my Orianna, and they're also locking in the Lucian, so this is something that they could have a steady run in the early game. Heading into the mid game, that's where they look to clash, but Team Flash might just actually suffer if they do not get any leads in that early game.
They need lead for the early game. If not, Graves, Twisted Fate, and Braum gonna run over them soon. Like later on.
The Singed. Okay. This is gonna be really interesting.
This is great because even though there's not a lot of range champion from the side of Team Flash, but Singed prevent them from dashing, and 4 of them are dashing left and right. So it's really great.
Yeah, I absolutely love the idea of bringing that Singed on the very final pick. Now you could basically zone everybody off or keep them in a team fight that is very favorable. So, BURIRAM United is going to show us the special. Why? We question Noel, why does he play that Singed? Now I guess this is where we'll get our answer real soon.
Yes, the legendary Singed has finally made it over here at the SEA Championship. I don't even think we were able to see it much during the Summer Super Cup, but yes, finally, Noel gets that. It's going to be a very exciting Baron Lane matchup once again as we head into Team Flash versus BURIRAM United Esports.
Thank you very much, Mika, What the Jess, and also Contra. We're down into the 4th series of today. Team Flash versus BRU. Riku, we're now seeing Noel with a Singed. What are your thoughts coming down to it?
I gotta echo what the Jess has mentioned. Noel here on the Singed. You gotta have that adhesive for the counter on the dashes, and he mentioned 4 different champions. The only one who doesn't have a dash is Dialing here on the Orianna. But something to note too, that Team Flash's composition again is focusing more on their strengths. They have the Orianna Rakan, and I believe it's one of the scariest duo when it comes to enabling the shockwave. We've seen a big sample on this before when we saw Final Adversity during the play-in. So Dialing already pretty much was godlike earlier in their match against one team. The biggest question is, will they be able to replicate that performance?
Indeed. I mean, they have a lot of engage coming from their composition, right? Renekton, Riven, Lucian, pretty much every single one of them has this sort of dash, has this sort of engage that can pretty much get that hyper aggression down to BRU. And as you stated, I think they want that Singed, mega adhesive to the ground, not being that mobile as a counter to it. But now looking down to it, I think the panel has touched on the Graves pick here for BRU with the Braum and Kai'Sa. That's actually pretty strong as what they just have stated. Now, what do you think will be the scaling here for BRU coming from this competition?
I feel like for BRU, it's a pretty straight slope. I feel like the mid game is going to be incredibly strong. Late game, of course, Kinemon is going to be the ever so reliable star of BURIRAM United, where, you know, he don't need no setups. He's fine, just killer instinct king, is that a word? All by himself, and is able to immediately get a pick or 2 onto Team Flash's backline. And of course, there's just so many squishy targets like Ellie, like Dialing over here. Maybe Joyce and Shai to some extent once the shredding appears on board already on Kai'Sa.
Yeah, definitely that's something important to look forward into. But look at BRU and how they're doing this, right? They have that switch in lanes. You have the duo come up in Baron, so that forces out Glory D to also come up on top. And now BRU is just going in for the aggression with the early phase of Graves and also Braum. That's actually really strong. They're able to do this, but now there's a collapse here for Team Flash, actually going for the knock-up. That's gonna be the first blood for Flash, taking it down, and BRU is now forced to back away with a Flash burned from Braum as well.
Beautifully done by Team Flash. You know what? We won't engage this 4v4 with a 50-50, or rather 3v3 with a 50-50. Why not bring everyone in the whole squad fully 5 and is able to win and strong arm BURIRAM United on their attempt to steal the blue buff, or maybe even burn a summoner spell or two. But they got the shorter end of the stick. And now First Blood goes to Team Flash.
They have to pay the price. They're going very, very aggressive at this point, and Team Flash went in for the big counter engage, focusing on Glory D with those massive knockups to follow through from Riven and also Renekton. We need to emphasize this time and time again because this is where Team Flash is reflecting their draft onto. You have that hyper aggression from BURIRAM United Esports with the early game. We're gonna counter that with the Rakan, and I think what the Jess also have stated this a while ago. You know what? Rakan will be the center of those engages. Actually can just jump through from the peeling coming in from the Braum. So I think that will be how Glory D will play this out up against BRU, especially now, 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. This is where the level 5s are now coming up. The ultimates are preparing for those massive team fights in Mountain Dragon and Rift Herald coming up in 23 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. For BRU, the ideal situation is for them to use Destiny, get a pick, make it a 4v5, transition that into an objective. For Team Flash, they are welcome. They will welcome for the 5v5 team fights because that is their strength. That is where they will shine. They also have the rotation already coming in, which means you have to see Flash late to the rotation a little bit.
Yeah, Glory D once again going for the hyper aggression for the knockup, but not pulling through. Rift Herald will be the point for contest here for both teams as of now, as of yet, but no one's going all in here with huge risk for the Rift Herald being stolen once again. But here into the mid lane, that's gonna be double stun, but a knockup coming from Joyce. Ultimate will be down, but will miss up onto Archie. Still gonna be living, but look at onto the knockup. Glory D will fall, as that will be the one for Shy. Tries to go in for the counter attack, will not be able to do so, but followed up with another kill for BRU. Jungler will be lost for Team Flash.
Beautiful collapse coming from BURIRAM. It was Team Flash that wanted to collapse onto Arshini. It looked pretty dicey, but because the rest of the squad were pretty much nearby, Team Flash had an adequate amount of vision actually towards the riverside, but they were already in too deep. This composition doesn't have disengage, so if they go all in, there's really no way out. The fact that Noel also has that adhesive to make sure that you're stuck on the ground.
Yeah, and BRU, while on that process, has gotten the Mountain Dragon, so much more stability and also sustainability for later on fights. Especially considering that you also have Singe and Braum with a lot of tanking capabilities for BURIRAM United Esports. Puts a struggle for Team Flash to be able to burst them down later on. But that will be traded down though. Team Flash will receive the Rift Herald after. So that will be the 1-for-1.
They can enable the lane for topside, open that up so Shy has a bit more space to work with to roam around the map as a Renekton. Dive though coming in.
4-man roam. BRU actually gets attacked First Blood. Now next one up for LD falls down. Team Flash will lose their mid lane.
Quite unfortunate. Ellie a bit comfortable, I suppose, under the dying tower, so BURIRAM had a lot of stun lock just because of supporter over there. Rift Herald unleashed in the mid lane, though. It is not going to be Shy having to have his lane unlocked, but it's going to be the mid lane as they do want to pressure that area and see how they can reset, considering the fact that bot lane has been opened with First Blood Tower. BURIRAM getting that big early lead so far. 1 kill apiece to important targets, important players like Arshini, I suppose, but still no big Destiny plays across the map since BURIRAM is happy with their rotations and their collapses in the side lanes.
Yeah, that's only been used once, and that's for information from Archie being pressured then a while ago into the mid lane. And so far, we're looking for that map control that Archie can do, especially at this point in time wherein the play is going for farming the lanes, getting those ganks. With this gap coming into those objectives coming up later, with the Cloud Dragon being the next objective, that's going to be available in this matchup. But look at Glory D going for the 3-man roam here for the mid lane for Team Flash. They're looking for pressure.
Speaking of pressure, yeah, Glory D will have all the pressure of engaging for the squad since, I mean, there is Joyce for that flank, but of course, Glory D has to set up for the punishes, has to set up for the big shockwaves later on, especially once Dialing is able to get Rabadon's Death Cap on the board, which will be delayed because I believe it's going to be a Seraph's Embrace, which is very defensive. I mean, understandable because there's a lot of burst going on the side of BRU, especially with the collateral damage on Shiva's side.
Yeah. And that damage will not follow through though, but look at Archie going for the flash. Actually goes for the stun onto Joyce. Good back there. Forcing out the flash, but BURIRAM United Esports going for the 5-man on top side. Gets the kill down, and Glory D followed through with another. That's going to be the double for BURIRAM.
Nicely done by BURIRAM there. Again, this is just a roaming death squad. What is the laning phase where you can just farm champions here in this game? And so far, 1 to 5 on the scoreboard already. They're going to make another dive here.
Yeah, it's the mid lane. They're looking to kill down onto Dial Lane, but we have Joyce coming to the rescue. That's going to be the clear wave for Dial Lane. Pretty easy. Forces back for BURIRAM United Esports, while you have Shy going to the bot lane, secures the third for themselves.
Blue team lost a turret.
I feel like Shy is still the biggest threat on Team Flash at this point of the game, including Ellie, I suppose, after the Muramana is going to be unlocked on that item. I think they're going to be that big bridge before the big shockwaves come in, coming from Dialing. And I feel like the second dragon will be the biggest test. I mentioned earlier, the Seraph's Embrace will be there for Dialing first. So the damage part of the big shockwave is going to be a bit delayed, but that's in exchange of that big defense. So the biggest question is, will Team Flash be able to slow the pace down? Because BURIRAM are slowly climbing into that gold lead and slowly taking control of the lanes and as well of the objectives.
Yeah, 5k gold lead already for BURIRAM United Esports, and I don't think they're going to stop anytime soon. With the Mountain Dragon alive, you're looking at BURIRAM United Esports, looking for the bot side of the map. They're looking for that dominance, and they're starting onto the Cloud Dragon. You know what? Even if your jungler is alive, we're going to start this up. We have that massive advantage. If we take it down, we're gonna further lead into that advantage for ourselves.
Yeah, this Air Drake is just gonna enable this whole roaming death squad from BRU. Look at that shockwave, just there for now to clear the waves. It's not there to attack. It is only there to protect the lane in general. So BURIRAM United on track now for their win condition is to basically accelerate the game. They also have Kinemon for that late game insurance as well. And we'll see as, yeah, it's still a 5k gold lead in favor of BURIRAM with Baron now being spawned. BURIRAM will look into opening up the mid lane for now.
Yeah, they have to push it back. BURIRAM United Esports has to actually clear out the mid lane turret to be able to try and get that easier aspect of getting the Baron Nashor later on for the Ocean Dragon as well. The mid lane turret gives you the map control, but here onto the top side of the map is looking for Glory D, but is actually quite safe with the Grand Entrance followed through with a defensive skill set for Dialing.
That's going to be fine for now. Glory D, though, once pushed away, once shredded away, what are your options for engage? Dialing will have to fend for his own. Well, not exactly. The second best thing to put the shockwave is to put Joyce in.
Ooh, the Grand Entrance will not connect. A good sidestep coming from Arch, and he saves his life with the Destiny now forced out. This gives you a lot of information for BURIRAM United Esports, and this actually gives them that Shy's onto the bot lane, and there's Duo into the mid lane, so I think they're opting to go into the mid. Actually goes for the pincer attack. That's going to be a knock-off. Gets the kill down. Dialing will fall. Look at the 3-man stun, but will not be enough as BRU gets 2 out of that.
What a rotation coming from BURIRAM, using the Destiny to see whether or not they can keep pushing, whether or not they can keep staying. And now they are rewarded with this Baron, half HP.
Well, it looks like Shy wants to go for the contest here. Not so quick, not so soon, but that's going to be flash away. Shy cannot go for the damage output for BRU, and that will be the kill for BRU on top of the Baron Nashor. And now Ellie is now being cashed up, but will not be able to follow through for BURIRAM United Esports. They want to conserve their Baron buff, and they have secured the first mid lane turret.
Beautifully done by BURIRAM United here. So they're able to get all of these kills across the board, set up all these dives, and Team Flash, we talked about this before, they have no disengage. They have nothing for them to stay safe and squeeze their way out of these fights, out of these engages that BURIRAM wants. And of course, because they have the lead and slowly climbing into that 10k gold lead with more dragons on the board, more towers in because they have the Baron, this is looking to be a BURIRAM game for sure.
Yeah, and it's actually just quite so difficult. BURIRAM United Esports is stacking with defensive capabilities, and it's just so tanky for them. Even if Team Flash built up 3 Black Cleaver, it's just too hard to penetrate those defensive aspect for BURIRAM United Esports. And now they're just pushing through. They're just crashing down into the bot side lane. Get that tier 2 turret. So much gold pouring down to BRU.
The mini good news for Team Flash is that they have a decent amount of wave clear. Well, maybe just one coming from dialing. Maybe it's not enough.
Well, it looks like not, as Glory D will just get eviscerated as he steps in to that fight. And BRU has taken an inhibitor turret into the mid lane.
I think the well trapped him basically in place.
Now Shy wants to go for the attack, wants to go for the counter engage, but once he steps in, he's dead. And now BURIRAM United Esports is looking for their second inhibitor turret. Gets that kill down onto Joyce as well, and successfully do so. The base is now going to be open into the mid lane and bot lane. BRU is now crashing down. They're dancing with death here, and Team Flash will get eviscerated as BRU gets the ace and gets the first game.